Okay, hey folks, Mark Locklear here, and this is your first screencast. And basically, I'm going to walk you through spinning up your virtual server. Um, the class is going to be based, everything you're doing in this class in MySQL is going to be based on this Ubuntu server that we're creating. Last year, we used Azure, which is Microsoft's cloud platform, and for reasons I won't get into, we're not going to be using that this year. I only mention that so in later videos, you may hear me if I reference Azure anywhere. You can ignore that, or if it's a problem, let me know. I'm not going to redo all of the videos that I made last summer, just based on this. Once whether we use Azure, in this case, the Virtual Computing Lab in NC State, once the Ubuntu server is in place, really everything else should apply. So yeah. Again, you can just ignore anything about Azure or Microsoft that you might hear. That being said, I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so I'm going to open an incognito window here first, so you can see, because I'm already logged in on this other window, but I want you to see what it looks like. So to begin with, you're going to go to VCL, that's virtualcomputinglab.ncsu.edu. And I mean, just to give you some context here, NC State, they've ran this virtual computing lab for many years, 20 years or more. They were around before Amazon, was even a thing, or any of the other cloud services they were doing this. But NC State has an agreement with the community college system, so we're able to log in and use their system. First thing you're going to do, go to Virtual Computing Lab, vcl.ncsu.edu, click the login button. You should see something like this. From this drop-down menu, you're going to choose AB Tech. You'll see this AB Tech CC SAML. SAML is an authentication platform. You click that. You can go ahead and click Remember My Selection too. That way you won't have to log in each time. You can click that and then click Proceed to log in. At that point, log in with your AB Tech username and password, the same username and password you use for Moodle, you'll use for this system. All right, so I'm going to close that. Okay, and then once you do that, once you log in, you should see something like this. You'll want to go to reservations, click on the reservations menu item, and then you'll get this new reservation. Click the new reservation button. You're going to choose this web server base Ubuntu 24. You'll choose server reservation. And then once you do that, it's going to give you a few different options. Here, let's choose your last name for this reservation name. It'll be your last name and then underscore DBA 210. Make sure I get this admin group right. For the admin group, you're going to choose Mark Locklear. So you'll scroll down here and you'll see a Mark Locklear. Now there is a Mark Locklear Spring 24 class reservation. Don't use that, just use the Mark Locklear. And then you can leave the access user group none. For when to deploy, you can go ahead and choose now. And then for ending, let's go ahead and choose, this semester is going to go through July 31st. In fact, let me make sure I get our date right. Pretty sure we're done. Let's see, last day of class I have is on the 31st, but let's go ahead and give ourselves a little, let's go ahead and say August 3rd. I actually like that date a little better. So for the end date, let's choose August 3rd. and then 9:45 is fine. All right. So again, all of these are critical. So be sure you choose these options correctly. The reservation is going to be this web server base. You click the server reservation radio button. Reservation name is going to be your name underscore or your last name underscore DBA 210. Admin user group Mark Locklear. Access user group none. Deploy the server now. And then end date is going to be 8/3/26. And you're going to click deploy server. And this usually deploys pretty quick. Kind of depends on load or anything else like that they've got going on at the time. But while we're waiting on that to load, I'm going to pause the recording. Okay, that took less than a minute for me, so I think it'll be pretty quick for you. You don't need to refresh. You can refresh the screen, but it'll update. It'll automatically update. You should see this connect button once the reservation is in place. And if you want to sort of sanity check the name, the server name, and then the end date, again, Monday, August 3rd, let's set that for our end date. Sanity check those. So now to connect to this, there's a couple of little gotchas here. So I think, once if you understand the sort of context of it, it should be okay. But I'll talk more about the connection in a second, but let's just walk through how to connect to the server. So if you hit the connect button, we're going to be SSHing into these servers. SSH is a Linux connection protocol that you can use to connect remotely to servers. So when you click this connect button, it's going to give you all the critical information you need. It's going to give you the IP address, username, password, everything you need there. So once that's in place, go ahead and open a terminal window up. And I'll increase the size here. So you'll open a terminal window up, and the full format for using SSH is your username, the @ sign, and then the IP address of the server you're wanting to connect to. So in this case, your username is going to be, my username is going to be John M. Locklear. Yours should be, I think it's going to be the same username you use to log into to Moodle. So your ABTech, sort of ABTech system username, that'll be the same username that will get set here. And so in this case, to connect, we're going to start off by, and if you click the little copy button, you can just copy things that way. That's an easy way to do it. So I'm clicking that copy, and I'm going to use first off the SSH command, and then I'm going to paste in my username, and then the @ sign, and then I'm going to go back to the VCL page here, and then I'm copying the remote computer. This is the IP address of the remote computer. So I'm going to paste that in and hit return. Now notice once we do that, so again, SSH, username @ and then the IP address. Click return, and now we're going to get a password prompt here. I'm going to just click, rather than try to type this in, you're most likely going to fat finger it, so I wouldn't do that. I would just paste it in. Click the copy button on the password, and then go to your terminal and click paste. I'm on, use the keyboard command for paste. It's going to be either Control V if you're on Windows. I'm on Mac, so it's Command V, so I'm going to paste that in. When you paste it in, you're not going to see any characters get pasted in. So notice I just pasted in here, but we didn't see anything. So just know that I've seen that trip up students in the past. When you type in for an SSH command connected to a remote computer, when you type the password in, you don't see any characters. So don't let that throw you off. Okay, once you're logged in, you're going to see something like this. The first thing we'll want to do is, and you can sort of look through some of this, not really, I'm just looking if there's anything worth mentioning. Yeah, not really anything worth mentioning. This is the vanilla Ubuntu, in this case, version 24 server. this is the same server you would see in this environment, and everything is going to be the same whether you were to create this on Azure or AWS or DigitalOcean, or there's dozens of different cloud service providers out there. Sort of once you're actually connected to the server this way, the commands are the same, the operating system is the same, everything is the same. So first thing, generally what you'll do is when you spin up a new server like this is you want to update the system. So in this case, I'm going to do sudo apt update. The sudo command is a super user is what that sort of stands for, what that means, and essentially any kind of any admin type command you need to prepend or precede it with sudo sudo. So we did sudo apt update. That actually just updates the repository. It doesn't actually update the server. To actually update the server, you need to do upgrade. So after doing sudo apt update, do sudo apt upgrade. And then notice it's going to tell you the packages. This is just a list of packages that are going to get updated. Some other information here, you're just going to say yes, and then it will go through and update packages. You're really done at that point. You can update throughout the semester. I mean, this is relatively quick. We've only got 8 weeks for this class. Likely some updates will come out, and you will see when you log into the server at some point, you may see updates available. Feel free to update those. Generally the right thing to do is to keep things up to date. Kind of not a big deal if you don't. From time to time, updates can actually break things on your server. So I'll be honest, generally I don't update it for class things. If I have a production server, I generally keep that up to date. But so I'll just leave that up to you whether you want to do updates. But at least this first time, before we get started on anything, make sure you do your updates. And that's really it. You're going to be doing some, you're going to be taking some LinkedIn. I've got the first couple of weeks, I've got a LinkedIn course on some Ubuntu, Linux commands you'll be learning. So that will sort of give you the basics around file and folder structure and copy and things like that. Some of that will be helpful. Probably some of you may wish, you may think, man, it'd be nice if we had this in VBA 120 because, we were using a Linux server there also. But that being said, again, you'll learn that. So I won't go too far into that. The other thing that's weird here is this page there's a close button and you can't escape out. So, I had to shrink down the size just so I could see the close button. Okay, let me bring it up. So you may have to, if you just refresh the page, I think that'll do it too. Let me say this about connecting. So there are some limitations on this server with regard to IP addresses and routing and things like that. I've worked with NC State to open up ports so you're able to connect to them. So the second half of this week, in a couple of days, in a few days, the next lesson, you'll be installing Apache Web Server, basically your LAMP stack, Apache Web Server, MySQL, some other stuff. Those ports should be open. However, they're only open to the IP address you're on. So the way this system at NC State works is it's only the IP address on the computer you're at is going to allow you to connect to your server. So whenever you attempt to SSH into your server, you need to log into the VLC first and actually click this connect button. What that does is, once you're authenticated via ABTech, what that does is adds the IP address of your location to the server you're trying to log into, and will allow you to log in to it. So I think generally the way this works is once your IP is in there, you don't have to click this connect button each time. But so as an example, let's say the first time you set this up, you're at home. I think you can continue to SSH into your server, at home. Let's say you go out to AB Tech and work in a classroom. Let's say you go to the coffee shop, or you're on, you leave town for the weekend and bring your laptop with you, and you're connecting from another location. Anytime you switch locations like that, you're going to need to log into vcl.ncsu.edu. You need to go to this VCL homepage and then find your reservation. Click the connect button. Again, this will pop up here. And then I think it's the same password, IP address. I don't think any of that changes, but you do need to click that connect button if you change locations. And even if you don't change locations, sometimes your IP address can get reassigned depending on where you're at. So if you have trouble SSHing into your server, again, go to the VCL page and click that connect button, and that should add your IP address to your server, so you're actually able to log in to it. Okay. And so I'm going to exit here. Once you've done updates to the server like we did, you can exit here. I mean, I'm just going to go through this again real quick for you. If I go back now, I can just hit the up arrow button on my keyboard. I'm going to click I'm going to use the SSH command. Again, I'm going to enter the password here. So I'm going to copy the password, paste it in, and there we go. If you notice the updates, it says zero updates are applied immediately. Now you'll often see this 45 additional security updates can be applied. You can ignore those. Okay, I think that is all. Let me stop sharing. Okay, I think that's all for now. If you have any questions, let me know. And next thing we'll be doing is installing our LAMP stack, which is again going to be our Apache web server, PHP, and MySQL. Okay, good luck.